Hey, I'm Eric Keats. Today I'm here with Anne-Marie Smithson, and she is another great client at Iron Core, and she's here to talk about her story. She's here to talk about her results, what led her there, her experience, and all of the other details that fall in between. So, Anne-Marie, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and do this. Something I really appreciate, especially since everybody's living busy lives and schedules. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's set the stage. Let's go back to before you joined. And can you describe kind of what life was like, kind of like what some of the challenges were or things that were going on in life that led you to actually sign up and join?
So I worked for an organization for a great number of years, and I was on the road a lot. Pretty well the entire day was about my job and not about me. Lunch didn't exist. Coffee was my best friend. It was a driving companion, I guess you could say. And when you got home, it was all about family, everything I had to do for them. Then along came an opportunity for my job to change, where instead of being on the road, I stayed home and worked from home. And this would have been prior to all of the 2021 kind of scenario that we are all faced with. And I had what I considered free time. And that free time meant I needed to fill it with something that was going to be good for me. And that's when I realized I needed to change, because I think what everyone else says, you're slow, you're tired, you're not motivated. All those kind of things start to happen. And I needed that to go away. And I decided to make a change when indeed I had no more excuses, I could say. And I had this time that I could put to me and not to others. And that's when I decided I needed to change. And then lo and behold, a friend of mine introduced me to Rob and said, why don't you give it a shot, see what happens, and go from there. And here we are, 5, 6, maybe even almost 7 years later.
Before I dive into, I'm curious to know what's kept you that long. I want to step back because you said a few things that were interesting to me. A couple of them being that you were feeling tired, you were feeling sluggish, you were just kind of unmotivated. How long were you feeling like that for?
Well, my job was such that I needed a job change at the same time, too, because I'd done the same job for about 15 years. And it was a job in which I was available to the business, I'll say probably 18 hours a day. I won't say 24 hours a day because they did sleep. But your start and end time was always outside of the norm. So that I'll say 5 years before I made the change, I was starting to say to myself, I needed to do something different because of the fact that I was tired. So it was sort of sparked by job, that I didn't have time because of the job. And now that the job changed, it allowed me to do something for me, as I mentioned earlier, because I had that time.
You were feeling this way for multiple years before the job changed. Obviously, if you said it was like 18 hours you were doing the work. So yeah. Obviously a lot of that work is coming home there. I'm guessing there's that mental pressure with that as well, because you can leave work, but work doesn't leave you. Right. It's just it's always there. And that just kind of wore on you. And you were feeling this way, but were there effects where others were seeing it? Were family members seeing this in you? Were there changes?
I wouldn't say necessarily that, although they can tell after that I did something. So I may just have a family that doesn't comment that way. I'm an extremely strong personality and do what I want to do kind of idea. So they probably didn't want to mention it. But it wasn't dire. But I knew if I didn't do something, I could end up like others that were, younger than me even, who were starting to deteriorate a lot faster than they wanted to. So the reason that I started, as I mentioned, is because I had time. But I also didn't want to do it alone. And that's when I dragged my husband to go with me. And he was kind enough to say that, yeah, I'll go with you. We'll just see what it's all about. And I still drag him with me 6 or 7 years later.
That's an interesting thing. I'm gonna dive into that dynamic in a second. But so you changed jobs, you got the time. You said a friend had introduced you to Rob, and they said, hey, let's try this. Now, there's a lot of other places that you could have gone or you could have tried. And was it just this recommendation? They said, hey, let's just do this instead of other ones that maybe were closer than where Rob is at?
Absolutely. There's a lot of options closer. I have to drive about 20 minutes each way to go to Rob's location. I went there because of the girl that recommended it, because she was doing it in a separate location that he had at the time. And she found drastic changes right away. And she just said, it's going to happen. You'll stick with it because you'll see these drastic changes that will happen to you right away. And I thought, why not? I can tell you that I'm not motivated to have a home gym. I don't get up in the morning and say I should go and do whatever type of exercise. I don't like going where I have to figure out what to do myself. I would rather be told what to do. And that is one of the things I like about the experience that I have with Rob, is that you go in and it's all structured. You don't get a say in what you're going to do. This is I call it the routine, but this is what you're going to do for the next half hour. And I like being told that, because of the fact that I couldn't come up with it myself. And I'd probably waste a lot of time coming up with it myself.
Do you think that saves some mental bandwidth with everything else you have going on outside? It's the one place maybe where you don't have to think or make all those decisions, and it's just kind of relief for you in that way?
Yes, and it's just a matter of hitting the button to say that I'm going, because we do sign up ahead of time, pick your time slot. So once I say that, I'll say, 99.9% of the time it's a go. We're going to be there at that time slot.
So there's flexibility for you in terms of
yes.
You can go, and it's not like you're limited to a specific day or time.
Correct. But I can say that the flexibility still has to be, how can I describe this? I have to take control of making it happen. Like Rob will have their, say a half a dozen or 8 class choices for you, time slots to sign up. But I have to pick the one that's going to work with me. And unfortunately for me, it went from being afternoon to mornings. I don't like to get up. I would prefer to sleep in if I could. While I was doing my newly found desk job that was working from home, we would go at the end of the day. So it was like a 4:30 thing in the afternoon. My husband rolled in the driveway, literally changed his clothes. We got in the car and we went. Well, then he retired. Now I retired. And now what are we going to do? Well, going in the middle of the afternoon just doesn't seem like the right thing. So we decided to start going in the morning. Well, then from a flexibility perspective, it had to change even more because I got a part-time job. And the part-time job required me to be on the other side of town, we'll say. So I had to go even earlier. But to expand upon your comment about flexibility, I just picked the time slot that's going to work so that it fits with the reality of my life that I have today, versus saying, yeah, I'm not going to get up. I'm not going to go today because I have to work. No, it's what time am I going today because I have to work.
What's the vibe like? Kind of what's the atmosphere? What's the energy like once you're there with the other people?
Well, we have different people we're with at different times, I find. But when you are there, everyone has the same commitment. Get through the half an hour and feel better at the end. And there's lots of little sidebar conversations, I guess you could say, that happen sometimes in between the rounds that we do. I feel in a normal gym environment, you're competing against each other. You're looking at the person that is next to you and what are they wearing? What are they doing? What weight are they using? All that kind of stuff. Whereas here, we just all grab our stuff and sit down or stand up and get it going. And it's more about focusing on what we're trying to get through and do versus what else is happening in the room. So you said describe the vibe. I think it's a focused vibe of a group of people on the same journey. And I do feel like it is a family. You go there, you feel welcome, you get caught up on what's going on, you're there for a unified purpose. So the atmosphere is conducive of an open, welcoming environment. Age is another thing. Like Mike and I don't know if we're quite the oldest there, but I think I'm up there in age as far as the regular clients that Rob has. And so that makes it sort of a fun dynamic too, because I try to keep up with the younger people that are there. But we're all lasting them, that's for sure. Some of them come and go, have their own new thing they're going to do, but we just keep doing our thing.
Is there, with the group of people you're kind of meshed in there though, and it seems like the intimidation factor isn't super high as like if you were walking to another gym.
No, it's not. It's not at all. To be honest, I don't even know people are around me when we're doing a round, because everyone's so focused on doing their own thing, and it's so short. And, you're doing something for a minute or for 40 seconds or whatever. You got to get that thing done. You're not looking at what other people are doing or how they're doing it. You're focused on yourself. And of course, Rob's walking around, making corrections here and there, challenging you here and there by saying, yeah, you're not using that weight, use this one, and he slides one over and you make a funny face at him and grunt and then continue.
No, the thing that you said before, we were talking about the time slots, we were talking about the distance and the length of time that you've been there. What is it that's kept you coming back there and, driving that distance and time and like for all of this time?
I think there'd be a few reasons. One, I've seen success and I am motivated by success. I am comfortable there. Earlier I shared with you that I wasn't going to go and do it myself. Be going there. I know he will give me as much push as I need, but leave me alone if I don't need it. I would call Rob a friend as well. We know a little bit about each other's lives and stay connected to each other's lives so that there's an understanding of when to push a little harder and when not to push a little harder. He knows what we want to accomplish. He knows where we're going. We're more motivated by that. Oh, we're going on a trip, so we got to get things tidied up a bit, even though we're going fairly consistently. So he will adjust his conversations with you, knowing what was going on in your life to keep you on track to those original goals. And periodically he has little challenges that are optional that people can join in on. And my husband and I usually do join in on them, which I think is motivating for others as well as ourselves, because if it is structured, we'll stick to it and keep going.
Let's shift gears and let's talk about some of the differences, the changes that you have noticed, right? Because that's probably another reason why you stayed there. If you weren't seeing any benefits, you wouldn't be staying there. So over the years, I guess, what have you noticed, like from where you were before to, I guess, where you are now?
Well, my weight's dropped quite drastically. I didn't think I was heavy before, but obviously I was, because some of my clothes don't fit anymore. Other clothes fit, but fit better. I'm a fairly big person, like I'm 5'9", bigger boned, I guess you could say. So there's not a lot of me that can disappear. This is me. I make up who I am. But the shape, I think, is the biggest thing for me that's changed. I now have shape that I'm excited about wearing a shorter sweater instead of a long, bulky, clumsy kind of thing. I feel energized as the day goes on, and I didn't feel that before. I got more tired as the day went on. Not that my job is difficult that I do now, but I am on my feet the entire shift, and you're like moving around. It's in retail, so I'm moving around helping customers and setting up things, moving things around. So it's not hard work and not heavy work, but it's constant work, and I'm not tired when I come home. Whereas before, I absolutely was exhausted, and I didn't do that. I sat at a desk. I met with people and with customers, so it was a lot of stationary work. So even the change in work, you'd think I'd be more tired from being on my feet all day, and I'm not.
How much weight? Were you tracking any of that? Because you said you lost.
Well, at one point the first big one, I lost 35 pounds. Another time, I think I lost 20 something. And this recent one that we did, and when I say lost, from the starting of that little bit of a challenge, but if I went back from start to finish, I'm probably consistently down 40 pounds right now. So that lost 35, go up a bit, kind of idea. I think from start to finish, I got to be down 40 at this point in time. But I did have Thanksgiving weekend, so I got some work to do again.
That's okay. You're allowed that pass, right? How about strength levels? You notice the difference there?
Well, beforehand, I didn't really lift anything. I would just stand back and let everybody else. Now I have no problem participating in moving the dresser and carrying the kettlebells from one room to the other at home, that kind of idea, going upstairs with something heavy. At work, I'm counted on actually a lot to lift things. And if you said that about someone who's on 58, someone who's 58 years old, you probably would say no, that the 35-year-old person should be carrying stuff at work. But no, it's me that does. So yeah, my confidence in my ability to carry something has definitely improved. Did try it before, absolutely try it now.
How about you mentioned this before where someone plays a role in it, and you've been through this time, Rob, a couple of different job shifts and changes. So,
Yep.
Stress levels vary depending on work, life, whatever. Have you noticed while being a part of this and training there, is it helped to manage some of the stress, or is there better balance with that side from what you've seen?
Do I feel better after I work out when I'm stressful? Yes. So I sort of take it out on what I'm doing and I push through because I'm sort of mad about what's causing me to be stressed at home. So I do find that part, I could say, absolutely helps.
What's been the biggest benefit for you from everything?
I have to say the weight change, because I don't think I would have lost the weight that I had before, and the ability to stay in a comfortable weight zone. I still do have a couple goals, and every once in a while I try to focus on those as far as, getting rid of weight in a certain area. And I know that's not something you can zoom in on, but I know that if I really put effort into the whole package, that will probably happen for me. So I would say weight is the biggest thing. I do like the fact that I do this together with my husband as well. I'm trying to get him to go or drag him along with me. And I say that tongue in cheek because, yeah, it's dragging him along with me. He's doing it for me, but I'm also doing it for him.
It also makes it a little easier knowing, right, you have somebody there that, you're training, you can feed off of that as well. And, you can discuss that. So there's a lot of positives, a lot of benefits with all of that. But before
and he even goes separate. We drive separate.
Oh, wow.
So even I say we go 20 minutes. So you talk about believing in doing it. It's the right thing and you can't really describe it. But price of gas today, and we're driving 2 cars the same way to go there because he now has a part-time job and it's on the other side of where the gym is located. So instead of coming all the way home and going back, he just prepares, does this, then goes off to work, and I turn around, come home, and I actually go the other way to go to work. So got to be something in it if we're prepared to do that too.
Oh, it seems in a way like you guys really kind of love it.
Yeah, don't tell Rob.
Won't tell him. We won't tell him that. Before we jump into that, actually, I do want to ask you a few questions about Rob. But one thing I didn't ask about, you were talking about the weight loss. Were you tracking anything in terms of like clothing sizes? Like you talk about sweaters fitting, but were you tracking any numbers in that or inches?
No, I didn't honestly track inches, but I can tell you in clothing, all the clothing that I had when I was working in the field, out and about, sitting at a desk with people and doing those meetings and what have you, I ended up having to get rid of all those clothes because they are way too big and sloppy on me. So not that it was huge, but I would say I certainly went from an extra large down to a medium in some things. Pant sizes, I went from probably a 16 down to a 10. I don't think I hit an 18 ever. But inches, yes, there's obviously inches that go with that. So that's encouraging and motivating. Because
Sure.
When you think back, what happened? I wasn't sick. I didn't lose weight because of that. I wasn't starving myself. It was the participation in this exercise piece that made the difference for me.
Would you go as far as say this has been life-changing for you?
It certainly has enhanced my life. If I stopped today, I would go the other way. I would gain the weight back. I would be more tired. I know darn well that all those things would happen again and I would not be happy about it. So I keep going even though life gets in the way. We trip up every once in a while, can't go for a few days, can't go for a couple weeks. Rob will reach out and say, is everything okay? Where are you guys at? Just checking in because we sort of dropped off the face of the earth. I know I have to go back because I don't want to be like I was 6 or 7 years ago.
Well, it sounds like too, like if Rob is checking in, it seems like there's a level of caring there that not like maybe a regular trainer would just, yell at you, count reps. It seems like there's something there besides him just being a trainer.
Yep, I would agree. I would agree. Like I said earlier, we have a friendship, and it's a friendship that is described by understanding each other enough that you know what's important to them and what's going on in their lives. Like, we don't hang out for dinner at night or anything like that, but we look forward to our conversations and our sharing that ends up helping us, well, helping him, I would say in this case, to help us at the same time. So his words then, he talks differently to different people that are there. He gives you what you need so he can personalize it, and personalize it where it's not benefit to him, benefits to us by him personalizing it. Whereas I would think, trainers in other locations maybe are selling their brand and their piece and what's important to them. Whereas I find, although Rob has an approach and a strategy and a concept that he's implementing with us, he personalizes it so it's about us and not about him.
Can you think of, you mentioned a few things, but are there any other, I guess, phrases or words that describe who Rob is as a person, or maybe his personality?
Well, he likes that he makes you uncomfortable. And when I say that, uncomfortable in what you're doing. So he wants it done a certain way. So in whether it's his words or his demonstrations, he makes you feel uncomfortable so that you can get it done. You're not accepting that, for example, just doing an exercise over and over again. He'll say, it's okay to go fast on this one. And he'll just keep repeating it over and over again. And you want to just say, I know, I'm trying, right? But it's that the words that he uses that will encourage you, but yet not center you out to get it done. He'll say things like, well, when someone says, oh, I can't believe you're making me do this, or, oh, this is awful. And he says, you're welcome. So he likes the fact that you're uncomfortable and feeling it, or not really happy that you're going to go to that next thing, because he knows it's the right place for you to be. But he says a lot of times he'll say, you're welcome. And you think, why? But it's because the goal is to help you. He is okay if when you're doing exercise, you say, I hate Rob, because again, he knows it's good for you. And if that's what it's going to take to get you to that point, he's accepting of it.
Okay. So let's wrap this up. Let's say someone is thinking of trying it or going there or signing up or whatever, but they're kind of not sure if it's right for them, or they're on the fence. What would you tell that person to push them off the fence?
I would tell them they absolutely have to stick it out. You've got it. You can't give up when you think you've had enough. If you're going consistently, you will see the consistent improvement with yourself. So thinking a bit ahead, sticking through it, going, committing to it and seeing it, and then reflecting back after a period of time. And I'd say a few weeks to say, am I better than I was a few weeks ago? So when it all evens out, then make your assessment to say whether or not this is for you.
Well, Anne-Marie, thank you for taking the time to come on and share your story, your experience. It's very interesting to see, especially if you're going with your husband for this long. You don't see or hear that much, like where someone's there for that long amount of time and they're doing it with a spouse. And it just shows, that there's something with what you're doing and there's something there. And it's pretty powerful. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on and share your story. And I wish you the best of luck with everything moving forward.
Thank you very much, Eric. Same to you.